Hello. Thanks for joining us today.
In this podcast, we focus on making the Bible easy to understand with references to today's world. We hope that you stay with us and enjoy our interpretations.
Let's jump in and get started. Shall we?
And that is exactly why you never, ever buy a dream car until you know if you're actually allowed to keep the keys. I mean, seriously, Stephanie, imagine you save up for 25 years, literally a quarter of a century, for that one perfect thing. You finally get it. You're having the joyful LOL celebration, the big party, and then the next morning, the dealer shows up and says, "Hey, I'm going to need that back. Oh, and by the way, I need you to drive it to the top of a mountain and leave it there." That is the gut punch we're dealing with today.
John, I knew you were going to go there. But it's so true. Welcome back, everyone, to Bible in a Year, making it easier to understand. I'm Stephanie Dalton, and I'm here with John Dalton. It is day 7, a weekend, guys. Today, we are covering the end of Genesis 21, the absolute mountain peak intensity of chapter 22, the end of an era in chapter 23, and then the world's first rom-com in chapter 24. And John, you're starting with the dream car analogy, but for Abraham, it was a dream son. Isaac.
The ultimate high-stakes gift that God basically asks for an exit interview on. But before we get to the mountain and the knife, we have to talk about the family drama in Genesis 21. Because, man, the delivery confirmation party from yesterday didn't stay peaceful for long.
It really didn't. We pick up with Isaac being about 3 years old, and Abraham throws a great feast on the day he was weaned. Now, in our world, that's like a toddler birthday party with way too much cake and a bouncy house. But in the ancient world, weaning was a major survival milestone.
Oh, it was a verified milestone for sure. If a kid made it to weaning, the odds of them reaching adulthood skyrocketed. So it's a huge party. But then Sarah, who we know can be a bit, well, protective, sees Ishmael, Hagar's son, mocking Isaac.
Mocking? The Hebrew word is metzahek, right? Which is actually related to Isaac's name, laughter. It's almost like Ishmael was Isaacsing him, maybe playing a bit too rough or teasing him about who the real heir was. And Sarah goes from joyful laughter to mama bear in 2 seconds. She tells Abraham, "Cast out this slave woman with her son."
Talk about a toxic family group chat. This is a messy, messy split. And Abraham is very distressed because Ishmael is his son too. He's caught between his wife's demand and his heart for his firstborn. But God steps in and says, "Do what she says, because it's through Isaac that your line will be named."
John, I have to be honest. This part of the story always feels so harsh to me. Hagar is sent away with nothing but a skin of water and some bread. She's wandering in the wilderness of Beersheba. She literally puts her child under a bush because she can't bear to watch him die of thirst. It feels like she's been deleted from the promise.
It's heartbreaking. It is a literal desert system failure. But here is the hidden gem. The God who saw her in Genesis 16, El Roy, sees her again here. He opens her eyes to a well. He repeats the promise that Ishmael will also become a great nation. He doesn't discard the side character just because the main character has arrived. He's the God of the desert wanderers too.
I love that. Even when we feel cast out of a situation, we aren't cast out of God's sight.
Exactly. And that leads to the covenant at Beersheba, the well of the oath. Abraham makes a peace treaty with Abimelech, and it seems like finally everything is settled. He's got the son, he's got the peace treaty, he's got the well. Life is finally verified and good.
And whenever life gets that perfect in the Bible, you just know something massive is about to happen on the next page.
Oh, you know it. Chapter 22 starts with the words, "After these things, God tested Abraham."
This is the big one, the Akedat. John, give us the 5th grade rule on that word.
Akedat is Hebrew for the binding. It specifically refers to the moment Isaac was bound to the altar. And this is where the dream car analogy gets real. God says, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering."
John, those words. Your son, your only son, whom you love. It's like God is intentionally highlighting the emotional weight. Abraham had waited 25 years for this boy. He'd just sent Ishmael away. This boy is his whole world. Why would a good God ask for this?
This is the most controversial part of the whole book for the modern seeker. It sounds like a horror movie, but we have to look at the context. In the ancient Near East, human sacrifice was actually a standard practice among pagan nations. It was the old OS of the world. God is about to perform a system upgrade to show Abraham that he is not like those other gods.
But he doesn't tell Abraham that yet. He just gives the command. And Abraham's response is silence.
It is chilling. He doesn't argue. He doesn't bargain like he did for Sodom. He just gets up early the next morning, saddles his donkey, and starts walking. It's a 3-day journey to Mount Moriah.
Think about those 3 days, John. That's 72 hours of silence. 72 hours of walking beside the boy you're supposed to, well, I can't even imagine the heart vibe there. Every time Isaac asked a question, it must have felt like a system error message for Abraham's soul.
It had to be. And Isaac does ask a question. He says, "Father, the fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb?" And Abraham gives that famous, verified answer. God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son.
He's trusting the signal, even when the view is terrifying. They get to the top. Abraham builds the altar. He binds Isaac. He reaches out his hand and takes the knife.
And the angel of the Lord hits the pause button. Do not lay your hand on the boy. God says, "Now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me."
I think I just held my breath for the last 2 minutes. And there it is, a ram caught in thicket. The replacement. The provision that Abraham said God would provide.
It's the ultimate modern mirror for the gospel. Isaac didn't have to die because a substitute was provided. Abraham names the place Yahweh Yireh, the Lord will provide. But more accurately, it means the Lord will see to it.
See to it? Like a project manager who makes sure the job gets done.
Exactly. God sees the need, and he sees to it that the need is met. He wasn't testing to see if Abraham was a good person. He was testing to see if Abraham trusted that God was enough. If you have God, you can give up even your Isaac because you know God can see to it that his promise stays alive, even if it takes a miracle.
Wow. What a mountain peak to start the day. But the story moves from the mountain back down to the reality of life and death. Because right after the peak of Moriah, we hit the end of an era with Sarah.
Yeah, we have to talk about the first title deed in history. Abraham is about to put his money where his faith is.
We're diving into the first piece of property in the Promised Land right after this. Stay with us.
And that is exactly why you never, ever accept a free offer at a Middle Eastern bazaar unless you're prepared for a 3-hour negotiation. Seriously, Stephanie, if someone tells you, "It's yours for nothing, my friend," they are actually opening the first chapter of a very expensive legal contract. And Abraham? He knows the game. He's not falling for the influencer discount.
I think I just take the freebie and run, John. But welcome back, everyone. We are in segment 2 of day 7, and we're shifting gears. We just saw the miracle on the mountain in Genesis 22, but now, in chapter 23, the tone gets very quiet and very real. Sarah, the princess of multitudes, passes away at 127 years old.
It's the end of an era. 127 years. She's the only woman in the Bible whose age at death is actually recorded, which tells you how much of a VIP she was in the big picture story. But Stephanie, here's the modern mirror. Abraham has been promised the entire land of Canaan for 4 chapters now. He's got the verified blue check mark from God. But as of right now, how much of that land does he actually own on paper?
None, right? He's still a resident alien. He's basically living out of a high-end tent, but he doesn't have a deed to his name.
Exactly. He's a billionaire nomad with no permanent address. But when Sarah dies, he realizes he needs more than a cloud promise. He needs a physical receipt. He goes to the Hittites, the local power players, and he says, I am a sojourner and foreigner among you. Give me property among you for a burying place.
And this is where that haggling you mentioned comes in. Ephron the Hittite stands up and says, No, my lord, hear me. I give you the field and I give you the cave that is in it. It sounds so generous. He's like, take it for free, Abraham. You're a prince among us.
Oh, it's a total power move. In that culture, if you accept a gift like that, you are forever indebted to that person. You don't actually own it. You're just borrowing their hospitality. Abraham knows that if his descendants are going to inherit this land, they can't be squatters on a Hittite's good graces. They need a verified title deed.
So he insists on paying. And Ephron says, the land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between me and you? John, is that a fair price? Or is Ephron basically charging Manhattan penthouse prices for a cave?
It was an absolute gouge, Stephanie. 400 shekels was a massive amount of silver for a small field and a cave. For context, much later in the Bible, King David buys a whole threshing floor and some oxen for only 50 shekels. Ephron is basically saying, if you want a deed, you're going to pay the tourist price.
And Abraham doesn't even blink. He weighs out the silver right there in the city gate. He pays the buy-it-now price because he wants the world to know this acre belongs to the promise.
Boom. That is the modern mirror. Abraham is putting his money where his faith is. He's buying a cemetery, which seems like a weird first investment, but it's a statement of proof of life for the future. He's saying, we aren't going back to Haran. We aren't going back to Ur. We are staying here, even if the first thing we own is a grave.
You mentioned Haran. That brings us to that stray verse on our reading list today, Genesis 11, verse 32. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. John, why are we looking at Abraham's dad dying hundreds of miles away right now?
Because it's the system handoff, Stephanie. Terah was the one who started the journey from Ur, but he settled in Haran. He stopped short of the promise. For Abraham to truly own the new land, he had to bury the old OS of his father's house. By buying the cave of Machpelah for Sarah, he's officially deleting the Haran backup files. He is all in on Canaan.
It's like when you finally commit to a new city and you buy a house there. You're saying, I'm not just visiting, I'm planting roots.
Precisely. And this is a hidden gem for anyone feeling stuck in a Haran phase of life. Sometimes you have to let the old things die, literally or figuratively, before you can hold the deed to your future. Abraham buried his past to secure his children's future.
And speaking of children, Isaac is still single. Sarah is gone. Abraham is old and advanced in years, and he realizes that if the multitude promise is going to happen, Isaac needs a wife. But not just any wife.
No local apps allowed. He won't let Isaac marry a Canaanite. He needs a verified bride from his own kindred who understands the walk with God vibe.
So he sends his senior servant, most people think it's Eliezer, on a 500-mile trekking mission with 10 camels and a mountain of jewelry. John, this is the world's first rom-com.
Oh, it's a total cinematic experience. And it features the most specific GPS prayer in history.
I'm ready for the camel test. We're going to talk about the well, the nose ring, and the girl who said, I will go, right after the final break.
Don't go anywhere. The ancient bachelorette is next. And that is exactly why you should never, ever agree to a first date unless you know for a fact the other person is willing to hydrate 10 thirsty camels. Seriously, Stephanie? If I'm on a dating app and the bio says, must be willing to haul 250 gallons of water from a well for my livestock, I am swiping left so fast I'll break my thumb. But for Isaac's future bride, this was the ultimate character system check.
I think camel hydration is a very specific niche on dating apps, John. But welcome back to segment 3. We are in Genesis 24, and the vibe has shifted from the intensity of the mountain to what I call the ancient rom-com. Sarah has passed away, Abraham is old and advanced in years, and he realizes Isaac is still single. He calls his senior servant, Most people call him Eliezer, and gives him a high-stakes mission.
It's a 500-mile trekking mission. He tells the servant, "Go to my country and to my kindred and take a wife for my son Isaac." He's very clear, no Canaanites allowed. He wants a bride who is part of the verified family line we saw in 1 Chronicles, someone who speaks the same faith language.
But there's a catch. The servant asks, "What if she won't come back with me?" And Abraham says, "Then you're free from the oath, but do not take my son back there." Why was that so important, John? Why couldn't Isaac just move back to the family hub in Haran?
Because Haran was the old OS. Stephanie! If you remember our hidden gem verse from today, Genesis 11 verse 32, Abraham's dad, Terah, died in Haran because he settled there instead of going all the way to the promise. Abraham is saying, we aren't going back to the place where the journey stalled. The promise is here. If she wants to be part of the future, she has to leave her past behind, just like I did.
So the servant takes 10 camels loaded with choice gifts, basically a mountain of jewelry, and heads to the city of Nahor. And when he gets to the well, he prays the world's first GPS prayer.
Oh, I love this. He doesn't just pray, Lord, help me find a nice girl. He sets a very specific search filter. He says, let the young woman to whom I shall say, please let down your jar that I may drink, and who shall say, drink, and I will water your camels also. Let her be the one.
John, we need a 5th grade rule moment here on the physics of this prayer. Watering 1 camel is a nice gesture. Watering 10 camels? That is a CrossFit workout.
It is a massive task. Researchers say a thirsty camel can drink 25 gallons of water in one sitting. 10 camels? That's 250 gallons. Rebecca would have had to lower her jar into that well dozens and dozens of times. The servant wasn't looking for a pretty face. He was looking for radical hospitality. He wanted someone who saw a need and went 10x above and beyond without being asked.
And before he even finishes the prayer, Rebecca shows up. She's beautiful, she's kind, and she hits every single one of his search filters. She gives him a drink, then says, I will draw water for your camels also until they have finished drinking. She crushed the test.
She was the ultimate, verified match. And the servant is so blown away, he immediately starts handing out the bling. He gives her a gold nose ring and 2 heavy gold bracelets.
And then we meet her brother, Laban. John, I noticed something in your research about Laban. He seems a bit more interested in the gifts than the God, doesn't he?
Laban has influencer brain. The text specifically says that when Laban saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms, that's when he ran out to welcome the servant. He saw the gold and thought, okay, this verified guest is a tier 1 sponsor. He's going to be a major glitch in the story later on, but for now, he provides the hospitality.
The servant tells the whole story. The mountain, the promise, the GPS prayer, and Rebecca's family says, this thing has come from the Lord. But then, the next morning, they try to lag the process. They say, let her stay with us 10 days or so.
They're trying to hit the snooze button. But the servant says, do not delay me. And this is the heart vibe moment of the whole chapter. They call Rebecca and ask her, will you go with this man?
And she says 3 words that change her life. I will go.
Boom. That is the modern mirror. Rebecca had never seen Isaac. She'd never been to Canaan. All she had was the testimony of a servant and a pile of gold bracelets. But she hit accept on the request because she recognized the signal of God's plan. She was willing to leave her father's house, the same thing Abraham did 65 years earlier.
It's so beautiful. They trek 500 miles back, and as they arrive, Isaac is out in the field meditating in the evening. He sees the camels coming, she sees him, and it's just like a movie ending. The text says, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
It's the perfect system restore. The generation of Abraham and Sarah is closing out, and the generation of Isaac and Rebekah is coming online. The promise has a new home.
Man, day 7 has been a lot. From the ultimate test on the mountain to the camel test at the well. It feels like God is just constantly asking, do you trust me enough to let go of what you love?
And the answer today was a resounding yes.
That brings us to the end of our Day 7 journey. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We've officially finished our first week of the Bible in a year.
7 days down, 358 to go. We really appreciate you walking through these high-stakes chapters with us. It's been an intense ride, but we're making it easier to understand, one camel at a time.
Okay, John, the one-sentence text message summary for Day 7. What are we texting our friends?
Here it is. God doesn't test us to take away what we love. He tests us to see if we believe He is enough. And He always sees to the provision we need for the next step of the walk.
God sees to it. I love that. Before you go, please take a second to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you were Rebecca, would you have watered all 10 of those camels, or would you have just called an Uber?
Tell us your honest answer in the comments. And we will see you tomorrow for Day 8, where we meet the next generation of glitches and grace.
See you then. That brings us to the end of today's podcast. Thank you everyone for joining us.
We really appreciate you listening in and walking through these chapters with us.
Before you go, please take a second to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear how these modern mirrors are helping you see the text differently.
See you tomorrow for another exciting deep dive into the Word of the Lord. God bless.